game.
What's going on, y'all? It's Big John, and welcome back to another episode of It's All in the Game. Today we got segment 2 of our interview with Shawn Taylor. In the first segment, he talked about his growing operation and what he was doing out there on the streets leading up to the time when he got arrested. All right. So we're going to pick up right now with Shawn telling us what happened that night before he got arrested.
Man, listen, the night before I got drunk and I was looking at this van online. It was like $50,000 brand new, and I posted a picture saying,
I remember.
Just bought this new van.
I remember.
I was just drunk talking shit, and I went to bed, and the next morning I wake up and the feds are gun loaded at my door, beating on it. They didn't have a warrant to kick in my door. They just had a warrant for arrest.
Okay.
So they were beating on my door forever, and my wife finally went and answered the door. And when she went out there, like, I shut the door because I was scared as fuck.
Right.
And, they started beating, and I finally told them to come in. Put my hands up, they arrested me, started screaming at me, started throwing shit around my house, asking me where the money was at, where the drugs was at. There wasn't none of that shit there.
So I got a question for you. So you said they didn't have a search warrant for your house. They just had an arrest warrant for you?
Yeah.
So in retrospect, I don't know if you ever talked to your lawyer about this, but if you had just walked out the door that morning and said, arrest me, I want to speak to my lawyer at that time, I mean, they couldn't have come in your house and start throwing shit around or fucking around with shit. Could they have, or I mean, they just had the right to arrest you at that point?
Well, they had a seizure warrant to seize my plants and stuff.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
All they took was just the plants.
Got you. Okay, all right.
At my house at the time, I had a homemade greenhouse. It was like 100 foot by 50 foot.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I had my 100-gallon plants that were like 20 feet tall or 18 foot tall or whatever they were.
Those are fucking trees, boy.
And they had pulled up 2 rider trucks to get them out of there. And even then, I was still shocked. Like, what are you guys doing here? What are you doing? How are you taking my plants? I got them legal. My cards are right here. And he just kept saying, your cards don't mean shit. Cards don't matter. Neither will they in court. He's like, you're doing 20 years.
That's how they do. That's how they do. They love to tell you how terrible, how much trouble you're in. They're always going to tell you what the top end you're looking at is. So,
but I've been in trouble with the courts before, so my whole life, I know how to act. I know how they try to get you to talk, and I know how they try to get you to incriminate yourself right at the beginning.
And that point right there, how true that is. Like, when people get interrogated by the police, they're going to try to either be super intimidating or be your friend in a way to get you to talk and incriminate yourself. And really, like, if you know the system, like my man, you don't have to do that. It's never going to help you to talk to them at all, really.
They're writing everything down. They're recording what you say.
You're absolutely right.
You say the wrong thing, use it against you, period. So you really just are better off saying nothing.
Okay, so back to that morning, you got woke up. Cops are beating on the door. They're freaking out. They're screaming at you. At that point, you just think it's just you, or at what point do you realize that there's a bigger picture here that the feds are involved in?
Well, they had state officers in my house too. It was weird. Like, they had state, like, we met task force investigation in there, and one of the ladies was being real cool. Like, she was watching us while we were sitting on the couch, and she's like, "Look," she's like, "these are the feds." She's like, "There's no way to beat the feds."
Right.
She was like, just be cool and you're lawyer or whatever. And she's like, but these are the feds that can do whatever they want.
Right. So what I'm saying though, like, they didn't just kick in your door that morning. How many people did they arrest that morning?
That morning they got they got 27 houses that morning. 27
houses that morning that you were affiliated with in some way, that you were pretty much the kingpin, they were saying, right?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the indictment, they added a second indictment for the people that were proffered in the beginning, adding people to my case, and that it was a 37-person indictment. They ended up hitting 37 residents and arresting 37 different people.
All right, so this is a pretty good time, I think, to like lead into the whole MMT thing, because we hadn't really talked about this at all yet. So you said there were 37 people total in the indictment. So MMT was kind of your team. Tell me what that stands for, and tell us a little bit about your group there, your organization.
Money McGon team. I'm Shawn McGon.
Right.
Just kind of something that me and my right hand man came up with. It's something we just start this clothing brand off, try to get our name out there.
I know when it was in the news, they was all talking about like the medical marijuana team and the Michigan marijuana team. Was that just some shit they came up with, or did y'all like just like change it up for the media?
We started expanding to become, a legitimate business with the business fronts and stuff like that. With the storefronts, we changed it to medical marijuana team. We thought it would be more viable for the public to try to get our brands out there. And we were kind of like a cooperative, and we were all helping each other. I just was I was just the guy behind all of it.
You was the man. That's cool. All right. So then I guess back to that morning. So at what point did you realize that it wasn't just you getting arrested, like that it was more than you being arrested that morning?
Well, he had a whole, the federal agent had a whole stack of papers, and he was like, you know what these are? These are warrants for 20-something other people. He's like, I got agents in every city hitting all these places. He's like, you ain't getting out of this. We're doing 20 years, he kept telling me. And I said, dude, it's marijuana. I got my license. You guys can't mess with me. But,
man.
So, and then he came in, and it was like 5 people that lived at my house at the time. He had warrants for all them, and then he had, so he put us all in cuffs at once.
Where did they take y'all from there?
They took us to the federal court building, downtown Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And I was baffled. I didn't know what was going on. They arrested my mother-in-law and my mother and my wife, people that didn't even have anything really to do with my case. They sat us all in a tank. He was telling us we're doing 20 years. So we're all in there stressed out. Everyone's crying, tripping, and they put us all in a jury box, like all 27 of us at once. And the judge stood up and heard the first words out of her mouth blew my mind. Like, I don't know why you guys are here. It's something to do with like state and federal laws aren't going together. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I have to do. She's like, oh, you guys are getting PR bonds. And they let us all walk out of the building. And I remember that night that we all split up and went home. And the next morning I wake up and my face is all over the news. There's news cameras outside my house. They're outside my warehouses and my businesses. And they said that they dismissed my case. I know nothing about the feds. So right there, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. They just took all my weed, let me out, and dismissed the case. But I guess that's what they do to build the case before they indict me. They dismissed my case and then re-indicted me a year later, or 6 months, 8 months later.
So in that time, in order to build a case against you, you had mentioned earlier that they initially arrested 27 people, and then based upon people's proffers, they got another 10 or 12 people. So, again, for those of you who don't know, proffering basically means officially telling the police what you know basically is what proffering is, right? Yeah. Essentially. So, like, of the people that were arrested that day, and I don't want you to, like, put any names out or put anybody on blast unless you want to, did most people proffer? Did most people tell them to fuck off, or what?
In the beginning, I think it might have been, like, 4 people. They ran to him right away to try to get the best deal for themselves possible.
Okay. So
maybe I think they already had like 7 or 8 informants that knew me personally that were working for them too. So
okay. So over the course then of that next 6 or 8 months between the time you were arrested and they dropped the case to the time they re-indicted you, you know anything about the process of how they brought that case against you?
They had wiretaps, and they had just everybody's statements or the people that told on me their statements. But the main thing was the phone wiretaps. They had me talking about business and money and stuff like that. Okay,
so there's a couple points I want to talk about with the phone wiretaps. First of all is the thing that everybody knows, it's important to be careful talking on the phone because that shit can always be held against you. Like, and some of your stuff wasn't even necessarily true. Like you had said earlier, that was just me talking shit. Like, after you were re-indicted, I was like messaging Targowski, your lawyer. I think I had like started a petition or something. That's what it was. I started a petition, and he had said that they were using basically shit that wasn't even true, you know, against you, saying you're bringing $1 million or something like that you had said on the phone or something like that. So, you know, stuff you say on the phone can still hurt you, even if it isn't true. So, like, I've looked into and read what it takes to get a federal wiretap warrant, and it's not easy. Like, they have to prove what's called exhaustion. Listening to some of these phone conversations is a huge invasion of their privacy. And, like, if you're just talking to your wife about going to the grocery store, they're not allowed to listen to that. They have to hang up that phone call, and they can't listen to that shit, not legally anyway. That's a huge invasion of your privacy. And in order for a judge to sign that warrant, the police are supposed to be able to prove what's called exhaustion, saying that we're trying to get him through like buying from him, he won't sell to us, and we're trying to get like proper surveillance, but we can't get the right shit. Do you know anything about that, or like? I mean,
yeah, that's exactly what was in the paperwork in my pre-sentence investigation report. Was they kept trying to infiltrate my structure, and it was tight, and they were trying to send people in to buy marijuana without cards. They were trying to send people in to set up grows without licenses, and they kept doing it, and they kept sending like the wee mets into my buildings to count my plants and to see if they could catch me out of pocket, but I just was never out of pocket, and I was following state laws. So.
Right.
They also slapped GPSs on my vehicles, too. When the feds busted me that day, he was talking shit. He was like, yeah, I almost shot your dog. You chased me down the street when I was putting a GPS on your van. He's like, I know everywhere you've been, you know, this and that. He's like, you better talk to us now. And I'm just like, dude, I'm not saying nothing to you. I said, call my lawyer because you guys are on some bullshit. And then he just kept going on to tell my wife I was involved with a different girl at the time, and I was just like, dude, go ahead. As soon as I told him no, he pulled her to the side and had a conversation with her. And I know my wife's ride or die. She's always been there for me. She came back 30 seconds later because she ain't saying nothing to them.
Right.
And she's like, that motherfucker just tried telling me about blase, woo, and this and that. She just told him to fuck off. So.
I know she's ride or die, but not everybody's like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people might lose their mind behind that. That ain't got nothing to do with the case.
They really wanted her to do time. My lawyer told me that they wanted her to do a couple years. At the end, when we were like 2 weeks for jury selection, my lawyer got an email from the prosecutor, and it said that if Shawn Taylor comes in today and pleads guilty, we'll dismiss the case against Molly, and we'll recommend that he does 5 years. I ended up getting 7.5 years, but my lawyer was like, look, dude, he's like, they're going to give you an extra couple years for your wife. And that was after the deal was already done. Like, that's the conversation he had with somebody, and I said, run it, because I can do time.
Yeah.
But my wife, I'm not going to make her do time. She needs to be home with my kids. My whole life has been like that, so it's never good to just fold your cards in the first flop.
Right.
When you get in trouble, don't plead guilty right away because they're going to offer you what you want, so they don't have to go to trial. I mean, that's the same anywhere, any court case.
So you were initially telling me you're going to go to trial. They agreed to drop the charge against Molly a couple weeks before trial. Basically, you ended up going and pleading. How long after you pled guilty? You didn't get sentenced that day, I assume.
Yeah, the day I pled guilty, they arrested me.
Okay.
They put me in federal holding. And then put me in an 8-man cell with 6 of my co-defendants, and they give us all our paperwork on what my co-defendant said, and one of them was right in the cell with me, like one of the main people that told on me, and our paperwork's right here, so we get all our paperwork one day, and we're sitting in the cell, and I look at the dude, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Why would you say all this? Because he was lying, for one, but you got yourself a 5K1, which is a cooperation plea. I'm not mad. I'm not retaliating against nobody. I don't care.
Right.
That shit's over and done with. My life is moving forward.
So how many people ended up getting time out of all those, whatever you said, 37, 40-some people that ended up being prosecuted? How many ended up actually doing time?
I think 5 of us went to prison.
Okay.
37.
Did anybody else do, like... I mean, I guess the feds don't give jail time, do they?
Not unless if you just got probation and then, like, you violate, like, a simple violation, they might put you in a county jail for a couple months, which was what happened to my Uncle Bob. I got sentenced to 90 months.
That's 7.5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, and you were already incarcerated, you were already in federal holding, so like you didn't have to go like turn yourself in or anything like that. So they took you.
They told me a couple days ahead of time, like, yo, come in Monday, plead guilty, you're getting arrested on the spot. So
Gotcha.
I knew I was, but I only had 2 days to prepare to go to jail.
Okay. Ain't that some shit? Well, Shawn, I really appreciate you doing this for us. All right. Y'all stay tuned for segment 3, where Shawn's going to tell us about what happened after he caught that 7.5 year sentence, the time he spent in the penitentiary, and, you know, how he kept himself busy during that time, as well as, you know, what he's doing today. All right. Now, if y'all like this content, please click that like button and click that subscribe button too to keep you notified when more of these videos are coming out. It helps me build the channel too. All right. Stay safe out there, y'all. Big John told you so. It's all in the game.